Hello there. For this part of our group report, I will be tackling about choice theory or reality therapy from a multicultural perspective. First, in cross-cultural therapy, it is essential that counselors should be able to respect the differences in worldview between themselves and their own clients. Why? Because it says here, counselors should demonstrate their respect for the cultural values of their clients by helping them explore how satisfying their current behavior is. And once the clients are able to make this kind of assessment, they can even formulate plans that they can balance between their choice with their own cultural values that is both to themselves and to others. It is also a sign of respect that the counselor refrains from deciding what specific behavior should be changed. Through skillful questioning on the counselor's part, clients from diverse ethnic backgrounds can be helped to determine the degree to which they have become acculturated into the dominant city. Why? Because it is possible for them to find a balance, retaining their identity and values while integrating some of their values and practices to the dominant group. Again, the, the counselor does not determine this balance for the clients, but works for them when they are able to find their own answers. With this focus on thinking and acting rather than on exploring feelings, many clients are less likely to even express or display a resistance to counseling. Remember that. Next, Wobolding was the one who asserts the principles underlying the choice theory that are universal, which makes the choice theory applicable not just to someone who reads about choice theory, but to all people from a diverse ethnic background. Why? According to him, he says, we are all members of the same species and have the same genetic structure. Therefore, relationships are the problem in all cultures because all of us have needs. We all make choices, and we all seek to influence the world around us. By putting the principles of choice theory into action that demands creativity, sensitivity to cultures and individuals, and flexibility in implementing procedures of reality therapy. Next. And for him, Whoop Holding has adapted the cycle of counseling in working with Japanese clients. He points to some basic languages between the Japanese and Western cultures. North Americans are inclined to say what they mean and to be assertive because sometimes in Japanese culture, assertive language is not appropriate between a child and a parent or between an employee and a supervisor. Sometimes Japanese are not meant to talk as if they know each other. They have their own ways of communicating, which is by what Holding says are more indirect. For example, when you ask a Japanese clients what they want may seem harsh and intrusive to them. Because of these style differences, adaptations may be needed to make the practice of reality therapy relevant to the Japanese people. Now here, truth be told, in reality therapy, a reality therapist has a tendency to ask direct questions which may need to be softened, means slow down, with questions that are being raised more elaborately and indirectly, because it is considered to be a mistake when you ask a question that builds around a specific behavior of our client's needs. Confrontation should be done only after carefully considering the context, meaning you should consider what our client from a diverse background or diverse ethnic background is facing when being encouraged to do this kind of behavior. Now next, remember, in Japanese translation of a word, there is no word plan, nor is there an exact word for accountability, because they don't have those kinds of words, those kinds of meanings in their own language. Yet, plan and accountability are the key dimensions in practicing reality therapy and can be central to the Japanese culture. In asking clients to make plans and commit to them, Western counselors do not settle for a response of, "I'll try." Instead, they tend to push for an explicit pledge to follow through. In Japanese culture, however, the counselor is likely to accept "I'll try" as a firm commitment. Because as a reality therapist, we always wanted to encourage our clients to develop a new behavior. That's why we don't accept the response of "I'll try" in some parts of the country. But in Japanese culture, a reality therapist or a counselor can accept "I'll try" as that is how Japanese people will say as they are trying to make a commitment to what they're trying to do. Flexibility is a foremost requirement. A key strength of reality therapy is that provides it provides clients with tools to make the changes that they desire. Flexibility, as we as you can think of, is something that you can try to balance, not only just balance, but to balance the things that you are taught from where you came from and the things that you can learn. And we try to give you a choice to have that kind of flexibility if you want. Okay, now for this slide, there are sadly shortcomings from a diversity perspective. One, choice theory rejects the traditional notion that people with problematic physical and psychological symptoms are mentally ill. You all know, like our country, like in the Philippines, someone with a physical problem or a psychological symptoms that are mentally ill, they sadly reject the traditional uh, ways of diagnosing someone who has a problem in terms of their mental health. And to keep in mind, in the second part, reality therapy gives only limited attention to help people issues to be addressed. So here are the following examples, like the environmental and social problems, discriminations, racism, sexism, homophobia. All of them are limited for a reality therapist to help their clients. Why? Because even though all of these are known to be a problematic for an individual to face in their own lives, we sadly cannot give them a, a choice on or a solution on how to fix these problems, because these problems are part of the human nature. That means we cannot do about it, but we try to give them an opportunity to try and face that problem and how they'll try to find the solution for themselves. Next, it is important that therapists acknowledges that acknowledge that people do not choose to be victims of various forms of discrimination and oppression. Now, it is sad to say that we are not allowed to choose victims that came from various forms of discrimination and uh, oppression because some people have fewer choices available to them, yet they do have choices. Although focusing on choices clients do have is useful. I do believe clients may need to talk about the ways that their choices are restricted by environmental circumstances, and therapists would do well to consider how both they and their clients could take a few baby steps towards bringing about social changes. And lastly, some clients are very reluctant to directly verbally express what they need. Now, as you all know, what I've mentioned about the Japanese culture, remember, they if their response to you is saying, I will try, that's a commitment to them, even though that is not a commitment to us. But to them, their cultural values and norms may not reinforce them in assertively asking for what they want. In fact, they may be socialized to think more of what is good for the social group than of their individual wants. So, we must be patient and we must apply the adaptations that will be proceeded in one of our procedures that will be part of our therapy flow to the life experiences and values of members from various cultures. Now, over on this slide right here, I'm going to show you how you apply reality therapy to Gwen's case. Now, here, Gwen has lived for a long time believing therapy was for weak and crazy people, and certainly not for an American African woman herself who has a strong faith. Gwen has not been in therapy before, and I need to establish a climate of trust and respect so she feels it is safe to express her feelings. As we develop our working alliance, I help Gwen understand that she has already begun the change process by doing something different and coming in for therapy. So, I would ask her, tell me, what do you want your life to be like? I am asking her about her quality world. Keep in mind, quality world in choice therapy means the ideal world of a client. Her response was, I want to feel appreciated and relaxed. I don't want to work. I want to be the most of important aspect of my life. I want to feel strong and healthy in my body. I am tired of feeling achy and overwhelmed. I want to feel respected and loved by my family. I am tired of feeling like I have to do everything on my own. Then I responded to her, think back over the past week and tell me something you did to move yourself closer to the life you want. I took a beginner's yoga class and it helped me relax. I didn't feel as achy the next day, so I signed up for an 8-week class. What does this mean that she took a yoga class for a beginner such as Gwen herself? It means that Gwen is trying out something new that she hasn't been used to before. And then on the next slide, I responded to her, "That's great. I am so proud of you. You sound committed." So Gwen has gotten into the habit of letting life happen to her rather than taking the steering wheel and driving in the direction of her hopes and dreams. For real change to occur, Gwen must do something different. And the yoga class is already a good start for her plan towards it. Now I ask her, now think about what you can do differently in another aspect of your life to move closer to your ideal scene. Then she says, I feel like I am doing a lot lately. Then I would ask her, you are doing a lot. Is that what you want to continue to do? Then Gwen says, I know I need to prioritize my life and put myself first. I know I take on too much. It's a bad habit and it's wearing me out. So what happens here is that she noticed that she has taken too much task, and it turns out to be a bad habit which wears her out easily. How well is taking on the role of a martyr working for you? Which implied that in this response, there is no criticism, just asking her, how is she doing? Then she says, not at all. I watched my grandmother wear herself out by taking care of the entire family. Now, what happened here is I needed to pull back. My intention was I will try, no, or rather, I will not abandon Gwen if she does not meet her goals or if her plans are unsuccessful. I do have to challenge her in an emphatic and supportive manner to discuss what she can do to get back on course. I stay committed to Gwen and try to help her make the small incremental changes that she desires. So what it means is that I'm trying to support her in a way that she won't lose track of what she wanted in her life. Meaning about I cannot abandon her unless she meets her goals. Now here in therapy, the therapist is asking, what are you willing to do differently this week that you can commit to? Gwen says, I can make sure I get more time for myself. I definitely do the yoga at least twice a week to help me with my flexibility and stress management. I can set up meals for my mom that could really free up some of my time. The therapists say, those are good first steps. You are on your way to creating a healthy action for your life. Taking these steps can help relieve some anxiety you have been feeling. I will check in with you next week at the beginning of our session to see how well you carried out your plan. Now, what happens here on this line, I have to tell you something, is that before she leaves the session, I tried to encourage Gwen to consider reading a book that I would suggest, so that we will build on her action plan at the next session. I said, "Do you think you could find time to read a short book that is easy to read?" I gave her Wu Bolding's book, a set of directions for putting and keeping yourself together. And this will give you some ideas on action steps you want to take in other areas of your life. Start picking by just one or two of the activities that you think you can use. Then she responded, "What other changes do you think I should make?" Well, I would say, this journey, this is your journey, and you know your best. What changes could be beneficial for you? Keep your hands on the steering wheel of your life and notice how you begin to feel once you in the habit of saying yes to your health and well-being. Take things slowly. There is no need to rush and make a lot of changes right away. So what happens here is that the success of our work together depends not only on the skill of a therapist and ability to establish a relationship with her, but also on her willingness to take responsibility, reality therapy for her behavior, and her willingness to make alternative choices. The therapist wants to know that she wanted to support Gwen as she discovers her own answers to her questions that she's been looking for. I refrain from telling her what to choose for her action plan. Her success must come from her own evaluation, who needs to shift in her plan, and only her she can find a solution to what she's been to the questions that she's been looking for. And that is how you apply a reality therapy in this case. And that would be the end of this case. Thank you. And if there are questions that you don't understand, you can simply chat to me or comment on my video below. I'm sorry if I sounded a bit nasal because I'm not feeling well. So don't be afraid to ask questions. And that concludes the very last part of our report on reality therapy. And I would like to congratulate to all of the team members who did their part very well. And here are the team members of the group. Miss Carla Jane B. Piastro, Miss Mariam Di Sumimba, myself, and Sir Althani Sampaco. May you all give them a virtual round of applause. And thank you for taking your time for listening to our report. And have a very good day forward, everyone.